how can we sort of eliminate the uncertainty on the financial front as well? What are the steps that we can take today to, try and today that will provide us security on the financial front tomorrow?
First of all, Mubina, happy to have you back. We were missing you. There is nothing new, about this COVID thing. Only thing which is happening is people are dying in one family, 3 deaths are happening. And that can be pretty unnerving, right? Is for earlier, it used to be a husband and wife holding something as either or survivor and may not even have had a nominee. Because you always thought one person will die and there will be enough time for us to make that again either or survivor or put a nominee. Now, if the husband and wife die within a week of each other or within 10 days, I'm sure the family is not thinking of nomination and things like that, right? That's the new COVID crisis. So 2-3 things which are very important. I remember you said taking insurance. Of course, taking insurance is important, but far more important is within the family communication as to what to do with the money. If suppose there is a woman who doesn't know how to handle the money and she gets 2 crores, the chances are she will part with it because she has no clue on how it is to be managed. That could be a disastrous thing. So I think husband and wife or as a family, even kids above the age of 14, 15, should sit and discuss what they have and why a bill has to be made and things like that and make a proper bill. And the children should also know where it is kept because imagine an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old suddenly being told that both the parents are dead. How that kid is not going to know anything about a bill and things like that, right? So that is the new COVID angle to the whole death planning.
Well, yeah, I mean, the headlines as well, you mentioned something very, very appropriate. This is something that we've been reading. It's very, very unfortunate, very sad. And I think for all of you watching, if you have dependents, this is the reason why this particular topic should be, taken up very, very seriously and as soon as possible. So, why, Mr. Subramanyam, we all have an investment plan in place. When it comes to will planning, many of us are lagging behind. So what's the first step in doing that? To what extent should you involve your family members as well? If you could just guide us through that process first.
First of all, I think the investment plan being in the man's head or the husband's head or the wife's head, one of the person who is managing it, is not enough. It is time that it is either put down on paper or conveyed to children above the age of 15, right? So first of all that. And next is the question of when the financial plan is made, why a particular fund has been invested, or who is your financial planner and who is your chartered accountant. People may not know the difference. Why do you go to X for filing your tax return and Y for your investment? So explaining that to the family, talking about it inside the family, and either write it down or at least tell your family that who is doing all this for you. If you're doing it yourself, you're a DIY, then all the more reason to find out whether your family and children are interested in having a complicated portfolio. Imagine a person with a very complicated portfolio, debt funds, equity funds, art, and all those things. The wife or children may not be wanting such a complicated portfolio. Then maybe an index fund is good. Then at least tell them, look, in case something happens to me, put all this in an index fund, or go to XYZ, he's our financial planner, go to so-and-so, who's the chartered accountant to file returns. They should know who are the people in your life. Explaining those things to me is far more important than just doing it.
Okay, so ensure that whoever your financial planner is, it could be your chartered accountant or whoever it is, ensure that your family members also know him or her, are in touch with him or her, so that God forbid if there's any unforeseen circumstances as well, they know who to connect with, and who will sort of help you get access to all the wealth as well that you've accumulated. And yeah, sort of ensure that they are as well in tune with your investment strategy, because of course, the financial world could be pretty complex, and with what fixed income funds, etc., they come around with their own complexity. So does your family even fully comprehend all of that? That's why it's always a good idea to ensure that you have all your family members as a part of your investment process as well. So what happens, Mrs. Subramanyam, if let's say an individual passes away, and he or she has not really left behind a plan on what will happen to his or her assets post their death, what then happens?
Depends. Suppose the financial advisor is a family friend and they know and they reach out to him, very good chance that he will help him. He will help them or she will help them. There are many women also who are doing that. So it could be, somebody who could help. Or they could take everything and go to a new person and say, I want to start afresh and I want you to help here. So it's very important that you have a will, especially for your real estate, because even in a city like Mumbai with cooperative societies, it is absolutely essential to have a will to transfer the asset, which is the real estate, from the husband to the wife or from the father to the son or daughter or whoever it is, because the society may not throw you out, the society may transfer it, but you may not be able to sell it or rent it out, because the new buyer will want to know how you got it, and if you do not have a will, then you could be in trouble. So Mubina, just a minute here. You have to have a will which is written down. It should be at least notarized. There are 3 stages in a will. You write it, you notarize it, and you register it. Even if you don't register, at least notarize it, because after that, making a probate if needed can be done. So nothing really happens to your other assets like your mutual funds and insurance and bank deposits will pass on very smoothly with just a nomination. However, the will is necessary for real estate, and you have to ensure that you write all the details. Like, I have to write, I, PV Subramanyam, PAN number so and so, my wife so and so with this PAN number, have got married on this date and have a daughter whose name is this, and this is her PAN number. The details have to be written down very meticulously, because today or tomorrow somebody else doesn't come and say, oh, I am his daughter or I'm his wife or something like that. This could be a nuisance value, but you might have to pay money to get rid of the nuisance value. So very clearly make your will, take the help of a lawyer. Believe me, it doesn't cost much. The whole process shouldn't cost you more than 10 to 15,000 rupees, which is affordable. Please, for heaven's sake, do it and take your family along. Get your son, daughter, whoever it is, explain it to them and tell them where the copy of the will is. It's as simple as that, but it has got to be done. If you don't do it, the family could get into trouble.
They could get through the cost of litigation that could follow because you've not left a will behind will be way more expensive than that just 10-15,000 rupees that will cost to draw up a will. Mrs. Subramanyam, I assume that every asset has to be included in the will, right from maybe, of course, a piece of property to an article which is very high value in nature. What are the assets then that I should include in my will?
Ideally, everything. But what happens in gold ornaments and all? If it's a woman who is leaving a will, she should, if she's got big articles, she should then say A belongs to my daughter, B belongs to my daughter-in-law, or I wish to give it away. Otherwise, it will have to be melted, and that is very difficult. Everything has to be melted and shared equally. That's difficult. So you might as well call and say, if anybody has a favorite, I'm going to give this off anyway. So aaju baaju mein distribute kar do. So that need not be written. But even if you want to write it in your will, that's good. But if you want to distribute it before your death, that is also fine. You have to just say all my mutual funds, all my bank deposits, etc. You don't have to specifically write folio numbers and all that. That's not necessary. Yes, all your real estate has to be written. Jewelry, if you mention piece-wise, maybe attaching photographs will help. And that's about all. It's not very complicated, but remember, India is a very caste and religion-oriented country. So for each community, if you're married under the Special Marriage Act, or if you're married for the Muslims, for the Hindus, even religion-wise, subcaste-wise, there is a difference. So please go to a lawyer who's experienced. Don't just go to Google and download a will and type it out and say, oh, I've written a will. Don't, for heaven's sake, do that. Don't try to save 10,000 rupees when you have maybe 5 crores as assets. Please don't try to do that. The cost of doing it is nothing. Go to a good lawyer, get it drafted, and maybe leave a copy with him so that your children also know a copy is available with the lawyer or with your chartered accountant. But please do make a comprehensive will. You may have to change it after some years because your children may have children, so you may have grandchildren. You may want to include that. That's a different thing. And also write, my children so and so by name, their wives, all that as much as possible, as detailed a will as possible. write as much of your assets, and also remember to mention your liabilities. So somebody who gets the house will also have to pay the EMI if anything is left. And Mubina, the greater challenge is to get the younger 32-year-old who has just bought a house to write a will. It's easy to convince the 65-year-old he has to write a will, but try telling a 32-year-old that he or she has to write a will just because they bought a house. But it is very important. The minute you buy a real estate, you need to make a will.
I just have one more question before we move on to some of the queries we've received from our viewers. Mr. Subramanyam, now many will say that, okay, I've accumulated quite a few assets for myself, in terms of, for myself and my family, I've got a good amount of money stored away maybe for my child, for my wife, for all their future needs. So then maybe I don't need a life insurance. Why should I then unnecessarily pay the premium? So what would be your thoughts then on that front?
It's a terrible thing, but the minute somebody has an illness, believe me, the first thought comes is, oh my God, I wish I had more insurance, right? So imagine a 35-year-old is told that, oh, you got cancer. The first thought that comes is, oh my God, I wish I had more life insurance and more medical insurance. So find out how much do you really need. Suppose a person thinks that he or she, his family needs 4 crores to survive if he is not there. And he finds that he's got 4 crores plus he has got a house and all that. Then technically speaking, he does not need life insurance. But if we say a doctor, even at the age of 50 or 55, he may just go and acquire a new dispensary or a clinic, and for which he may have given a personal guarantee. So when you do some of those things, if you're sure that you're not going to be active, let's say it's a 54-year-old man and he says, I'm now going to retire in a few years. My children are settled. There is enough money for my wife. Then honestly, he does not need more insurance. But if he's a 35-year-old, it's too early to say that he or she does not need insurance. Your children are young. You do not know what you're going to study. So I think a lot of uncertainties are there. I think it takes to the age of 54, 55 to be able to decide that, yes, he does not need insurance. Anybody younger, I wouldn't take such a chance. You never know what can go wrong. One COVID bill of 45, 50 lakhs can completely upset the family apple cart. So don't make such statements like, I don't need insurance. You don't know what are God's pays for you. So better to carry a little more insurance. Your term insurance not so expensive. You're spending so much, you might as well keep it. If you don't need it, throw it away. That's still okay. But having a little more, it's still better than you not having it exactly when you need it. So don't try to second guess God's plans for you. You have no clue what He's got in store for you. Don't try that trick.
All right. Well, I think it's time for our questions and queries. You've heard out Mr. Subramanyam, but if you have anything you'd like to ask him about, you can email us on themoneyshow@etnow.tv and we'll try and get your question answered. Okay, let's take on board our first question. It's coming in from Mohit Gupta. He says, does it matter whether mutual funds are held in single or joint holding in terms of smooth transmission or transfer to the beneficiary post the demise of the first holder? Very interesting one. Does it matter in mutual fund holding? He also wants to add to that your view, Mr. Subramanyam, on interest rates of 10-year G-Secs. His opinion is that because the government borrowing is very high, the rates of the bond yields would increase. So if you could just throw in your opinion on that front as well.
So first one, the transition can be very smooth, whether it is held in single name and a nominee or held as either or survivor. Both are equally smooth. When the person is holding as A and Miss A, if A dies, she has to just produce the death certificate, her own PAN card, her own address proof, and copy of her check, because the bank account will also change. If the bank account changes, the bank account also, if it is either or survivor, same account will continue. So nothing, it is not really very different between either or survivor or just single name and nominee. How an either or survivor will help is, if suppose Mr. A is in the hospital and he cannot sign, she can sign and redeem and get the money, and that money can be used for the treatment also. Otherwise, she will be able to get it. If she's just a nominee, she will be able to access it only in case of death. So okay, take a worst situation that he's got COVID or something like that, he's in hospital and you need the money, you will not be able to access it because he will, in case he's not capable of signing. Otherwise, he can sign from his hospital bed, which should not be a problem. But I would rather hold it between husband and wife as either or survivor with the children as a nominee. But if I'm single and I have only a child and I think my child is going to do business, etc., and I'm a little worried, then I will hold it in my single name and make my child the nominee. I will not hold either or survivor between husband and wife, but single name with nominee between parent and child. That is how I would suggest. And regarding 10-year call on G6, my God, I don't think even God dares to take that view. We have no clue what the Fed will do. 10 years is too long. 3 American presidents would have come and gone. 2 Indian prime ministers may have come and gone. I'm not guessing on interest rates. It's the last thing I want to do.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. We have another question, kind of a similar one. Aman asks us that it's somewhat similar to our previous viewer. He says, if I am investing for my son's future, would you recommend that I put money in mutual funds and SIPs in his name instead of mine? So basically he's saying that the son be the unit holder and not him, which kind of makes sense, right? Because at the end of the day, you've put this money in those mutual funds for your son's future. So though he does say that the son is only 7 years old right now, is that something you would advocate?
I think it's a very, very beautiful question, Mubina. We could do a full 30-minute program on it. The advantage in doing it for a 7-year-old kid is to tell him, you want something? There is money here in your name. Do you want me to remove from that? And the kid will say, no, Dad, let us not buy it now. It's unbelievable how the kid starts believing that it is his money or her money, and they say, no, I don't want anything from that. So you tell them, okay, you want 10,000 rupees, so we will remove 5,000 from yours and 5,000 from mine. They say, no, let us buy it after some time. It's amazing how kids get attached to it. Get a physical copy of this every quarter. Just print it out, show it to your kids, show them the power of compounding. It's a fantastic method to teach. I don't know why parents get scared saying, oh, when the kid is 18, he can just walk out and take it away. Let him take it away. Are you doing into 5,000, 10,000 rupee SIPs? Do it in his name or her name for sure. Some of the bigger monies, you may not want to put it in his name, not knowing what he's going to do, but definitely a chota amount, so, smallish amount at least, like 5,000, 10,000, depending on if you're doing 5 lakhs worth of SIP, maybe 50,000 is his name. If you're doing 50,000 worth of SIP, 5,000 is his name, definitely banta hai. The kid will keep looking at that statement, and it is amazing to see them get attached to the power of compounding and saying, don't remove my money. It's a fantastic process. Mubina, it's to be seen, to be learned. So I would suggest keeping it in his name also. Don't worry. It is not, if you bring up the kid well, he's not going to kick you and go away. He's going to be with you. So don't bother.
All right. Well, I think this was a good tip for all parents as well, whose kids, keep asking them for things. I guess it coupled in with a little bit of parenting tips as well, along with, financial planning. Mr. Subramanyam, I think we leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and, answering our questions and queries. And I hope that all of our viewers as well get right to the will planning process, especially since we don't know what tomorrow holds. Times are very uncertain, so at least ensure that you don't get any surprises on the financial front tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, well, moving on. Is your periodic KYC still pending? If yes, don't worry, because you have time till the 31st of December 2021 to complete it. In light of the localized lockdown, the RBI has asked banks not to impose any restrictions on the operations of certain accounts if customers have not been able to update their KYC details. During this time, account holders are required to upgrade their KYC, though via digital platforms. Almost every bank and financial institution now has an app through which you can easily update any changes in your KYCs. Plus, one can also use DigiLockers to submit documents for verification purpose. This facility is allowed, for legal entity owners, small businesses, CA firms, and proprietorship firms. Okay, and on that note, now we are out of time, so we are going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching.